Well, we have a couple of very dramatic readings today. The first one in Genesis, which would really make a good movie. Can you imagine, a torch of fire and a smoking fire pot going between these animals? Which was a way that back in Abram's time, that's how they did covenant. That's how they sealed a promise, a relationship, two parties. One thing about this covenant, it is unilateral. It is God's response to Abraham. And it also reflects God's response to humankind. And then in Luke, we have here a threat. A threat from Herod. And it's quite interesting that you might note here in Luke that it was Pharisees who came and told Jesus that Herod was out to kill him. One of the characteristics of Luke is that he portrays the Pharisees as complex groups of people. You may recall Pharisees were actually a lay order in one sense of the word. They were lay people seeking very hard to be faithful to Torah, to the law, and to live as faithful Jews under the occupation of Rome and under the threat of Greek culture undermining what it means to be Jewish. But Jesus, for his part, was not at all taken by the threat that they brought to him. Jesus said to them, "Go tell that fox for me." Now, a fox, to call someone a fox back in Jesus' time was really an epithet. And the meaning of it is not that this guy was crafty or something like that, but rather a fox was a lesser person. You might only think a pretender. There's a saying in the Talmud, "Why ask a fox when there are lions among us?" Which is saying, why ask me, a student, when you have these great teachers here? The other thing about a fox, calling someone a fox, is saying that their moral qualities aren't up to snuff. There's another saying of, it is better to be the tail of a lion than the head of the fox. The meaning of that is, it is better to be of lower rank under the leadership of a person who had strong moral and spiritual character than to be the head of a group who were not moral. So Jesus here is calling out Herod, saying, in a sense, you think you have power over me, but you don't. He goes on to say, listen, I'm casting out demons and performing cures today and tomorrow. And the third day I will finish my work. I will go on doing what I've been doing. And I will continue to make my way to Jerusalem. Because, as he says, it is impossible for a prophet to be killed away from Jerusalem. So that is his response to the threat on his life. And then the story turns from threat to lament. Jesus goes, "Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophet and stones those who sent it." The interesting part, the part that's very instructive for us, is in this last part of our gospel reading. The response that God gives to Jerusalem. Because he says, Jerusalem is a city that kills the prophet and stones those who are sent to it. And yet God mourns over them. God proclaims how God desired to bring her children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings. And you were not willing. Jesus is lifting up the character of God God's desire to gather people together, to nurture them and protect them. And Jesus is saying, this is the type of leader I am. I am like a mother hen, whereas Herod is like a fox. He's lifting up to us what kind of leaders we are called to be, what kind of church we are called to be. Not seeking power in worldly ways, but rather seeking power, loving, compassionate power in the ways of God and Jesus. Gathering people together. Like before this passage, there's that passage where Jesus said that God will gather people from north and south and east and west to sit at the table of Abraham. The inclusion of God's love for all people. To bring people together, to nurture one another, to protect one another, especially those who are vulnerable, who are lonely, who are without resources. The widow, the orphan, the stranger, the poor, the destitute, the ill and infirm. This is the vision of the kingdom of God that is lifted up in the Gospels. But Jesus also goes on to give a warning and a promise. The warning to Jerusalem is, though God was calling you to gather you together, to protect you, to nurture you, you were not willing. See, your house is left to you. Well, that's kind of strange. That's something I go, well, what in the world did he mean by that? In my research and study, what I found out, what Jesus is saying is that the presence of God there in Jerusalem, that place where God chose to put his footstool, he's going to take that away. He is alluding, really, to the destruction of the temple. All you have left is this house that's going to be torn down. And I tell you, you will not see me until the time comes when you say, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. Now here is the promise. Though destruction is coming yet, there is still the opportunity for repentance. When Jerusalem finally acknowledges the one who is the true Messiah, then they will see God. It's not speaking here so much of his triumphal entry, because as we know, he was rejected. But he's speaking of the time when finally they would understand what God's kingdom was about, what it means for the Messiah to be the Messiah. And turn from the ways of destruction to the ways of peace and love. I was thinking in this time, this political season, it seems like the seasons never end these days, where there's a lot of name calling and people being angry, and it's a difficult time, especially for us, who have made the promise, the vow, to respect the dignity of every person. And in some ways, now that we know the Semitic understanding what fox means, that there are probably some people out there, some pundits that we like to call foxes. But Jesus tells us not to go there. Because again, even though like Jerusalem killed the prophets and stoned those who sent to them, and yet God continued to reach out. God continued to value them. God continued to love them. And that's our call. When we come up against people with whom we disagree, or people that we see harming others, yes, you call them out on the harm they're doing, but you don't call them names. You respect the dignity of the person. You seek to see Christ in them, a Christ who is weeping and mourning that this person has turned from the way of life, has chosen self and selfishness over others. Power of might instead of the power of compassionate love. So, as we continue in this season of Lent, may we also hear, as we reflect on where we have fallen short ourselves, God's call to us. God is always calling to us to come, to be sheltered and nurtured, to be healed and restored. And in that way, Lent truly is a time of renewal, as well as a preparation for that third day when Jesus' work is done and he actually begins a new phase in the life of humankind. Let the people of God say, Amen.